One of the things I was reminded of while creating the PySide 2 UI for the Retiming Tool series was the need to store and restore a tool's position. By default, a dialog's position when shown is the center of its parent widget. For the retiming tool, this is Maya's main window. While developing a tool, this isn't a big deal, but when releasing it to artists and animators, it is often the case where it is not only good practice, but an expected behavior for a window position to be remembered the next time it is opened. To demonstrate this problem with the retiming tool, I've made a shelf button to display the user interface. This button imports the UI class and then calls the display method, which maintains a single instance of the UI class for the entire Maya session. When I click on the button the first time, the dialog is opened in the middle of Maya's main window. If I move it and close it, the next time it is opened, it is again in the center of Maya's main window. This is not a very user-friendly behavior, and in this video, I will demonstrate how to store and restore the dialog's position. And while this technique will only maintain the position in the current Maya session, it is only a minor change to save it out to an option var or a QSettings file and restore it in the next session. To get things started, I will first create a variable which will store the dialog's position. In the init method, I will create the instance variable geometry and set its value to none. Next, I need to save out the geometry, and this should happen when the dialog is closed. Fortunately, there is a method available in all widgets that is called when a window request occurs. This method is called closeEvent, and I will re-implement it here to save the dialog's geometry before the dialog is closed. So beneath my retime method, I'm going to add the closeEvent method, and this method has a single parameter event. And first, I'm going to call super to make sure that the parent's closeEvent is called. Next, I'm going to save the geometry to my variable geometry. And this is using the saveGeometry method, and this returns a byte array. As for restoring the dialog's position, this needs to happen immediately before the dialog is shown, and this can be done by extending the showEvent method. So right above closeEvent, I'm going to add showEvent. And this also takes in an event parameter. Again, I'm going to call super. And this is to call the parent's showEvent method. Next, I'll check if I have geometry to restore. And if I do, I'm going to use the method restoreGeometry. And I'm just going to pass in the geometry that I saved when the dialog was closed. Now, it is worth mentioning that this setup will have no effect when executing the code directly from the script editor. And this is because the instance and the class itself are being overwritten each time this code is run. And because of the way Qt works, there is a chance you will see an error message displayed when you try to run the code. For example, if I execute the code from my script editor, a traceback is displayed in my output window. And this is complaining about the object not existing when the closeEvent method is called. And this is because of the calls to the close and delete later methods, and how Qt handles close events. Because events in Qt are sent to a queue, there is a chance that the object will be deleted before the close event is processed. And that's what's happening with this error message. However, when this does happen, the code in the close event method will not be run. So this is something to keep in mind. And if I'd like to handle this error, I can do an instance check. So I'm just going to add that now. So if is instance, I'll pass in self, and then I want to check if it's a Zerbrig retiming UI object. So if this is an instance, then I'll call my super and save out the geometry. But if it's not an instance, so if this object has been deleted, then this code will not be executed. Clearing the output window and executing the code once again, I will see the error one last time because of the instance of the object that's already been created, but any subsequent code executions will no longer display this error message. So I now know this code change doesn't do anything when executed from the script editor, but what about from the shelf button, the method artists and animators will be using to launch the tool? When I click on the shelf button, the dialog is displayed for the first time in the center of Maya's main window. But if I move this dialog and close it, the next time I open it by clicking on the shelf button, it is restored in the last position that it was closed at. So with a little extra code, the position is now being stored when the dialog is closed and restored when the dialog is shown.